Alrighty, guys, it is 2023. I hope everyone watching had a good holiday season, good New Year, good Christmas, if you celebrate all that. But 2022 is over. As of me recording this, at least it is January 1st, 2023. So, like every other YouTuber, I thought I would give you guys my top 5 games of 2022. All right, let's not waste any time. Let's just get straight into it. At number 5, I'm going to be putting Pokemon Legends Arceus. Now, honestly, I kind of forgot that this game even came out this year, because yes, Pokemon Violet and Scarlet did just come out, and I have enjoyed those a lot. But just me personally, Pokemon Legends Arceus was a more fun experience. What I go for in playing these games is the Pokedex, and I really enjoyed how just the whole game, basically, in Pokemon Legends Arceus is based around filling out that Pokedex, and I like the way that they did it in that game more so than in Scarlet and Violet. And of course, Pokemon Legends Arceus is the first pretty much quote-unquote new Pokemon game that actually did something new, whereas all of them in the past were, kind of the same thing. But I just love Pokemon anyway, so I loved all of them. But the whole catching system in Legends Arceus, I think, was even better than what they did in Scarlet and Violet. I liked the whole stealthy approach you could take to catching, where you didn't even have to battle, or you could lure Pokemon to certain areas using lures, and then throw a Pokemon at their back to get like the critical catch or whatever they called it. I really enjoyed that. But yes, Legends Arceus was missing the whole gym system that Pokemon is known for, and building up your team to go become champion or whatever. But I just think the core gameplay for me personally in Pokemon Legends Arceus I found to be a lot more fun. And I like the variation of Pokemon that you could find out in the wild, how there's like different sizes. There's like the huge ones. I don't remember what they're called. I think maybe elites. But also there was just different size variations of just the normal Pokemon. Like you could just have like a really small... I think there was like an entire mission dedicated to finding like big Weasels. Like fat ass Weasels that you had to catch. I just really like that. It had a lot of depth to it. Yeah, it is still a Pokemon game at the end of the day. It doesn't look the best, doesn't run the best. It's on the Switch after all. But I mean, the music, the atmosphere, it's a Pokemon game through and through. All the Pokemon things you would love about it are there, but it's truly, again, like I said earlier, the first really different playing game when it came to the Pokemon franchise. And yeah. It came out early this year, so honestly, again, I was going to put Scarlet and Violet here, but I remembered that Arceus came out early 2020, so yeah, that's my number 5. And my number 4 spot is Cult of the Lamb. I loved this game through and through. I believe I streamed it a few times here on the channel, and then of course I did the Moses Monocle review of it whenever I finished the game, and it's just such a fun and tight game. Like everything that's there, yes, you can kind of beat it quick, it is on the shorter side, but everything that is there is so quality and so polished with how it balances, pushing you back and forth between the roguelike part of the game and the sim Animal Crossing style part of the game. It's just it's awesome. I love this game so much, and I believe they're updating it soon. I follow Cult of the Lamb's developers on Twitter, and I think the game is going to get some pretty significant content updates coming pretty soon, with like all new attacks and ways you can play the game. So I'm obviously going to come back and play it when the updates come. But yeah, I just loved everything about Cult of the Lamb. Again, I did the whole review on it when I beat it, so if you want to really know in depth what I think of it, then you could go watch that. But yeah, Cult of the Lamb it was kind of a sleeper hit for me, because I wanted to play it just because I like roguelikes, but I did not expect to love it as much as I do. Specifically the cult aspect of it, like managing your cult in this Animal Crossing style sort of thing. That is personally what I love the most. Yes, the roguelike part of the game was a bit bare bones, but that doesn't mean it was bad. It was still functional, it still felt good, it played tight. There just wasn't a ton of build diversity, I guess, which again, I talked about all this in the review. But yeah, I love Cult of the Lamb, and I'm very much looking forward to the updates. I'm definitely going to check it out. Yeah, I just loved everything about it, from the music, soundtrack, gameplay, the art style. It was just everything in this tight little package. It's just such a fun experience. Unfortunately, unlike other roguelikes, it doesn't have a ton of replay value after you kind of get through the whole thing. You can still go on other runs, but again, because of the lack of build diversity and all that, you don't really need to. It's a great game. If you like roguelikes and Animal Crossing, I guess, I definitely recommend giving it a shot. And as of right now, it stands as my number 4 spot on the year. And at my number 3 spot, we are putting Sifu. Dude, Sifu is such an amazing game. I did a full playthrough of this game on my channel, as well as like getting the secret ending. I put as much time into the game as I could just to get unlock everything and experience all the content. I even did again, just like Cult of the Lamb, I put up a review on it. But dude, Sifu just slaps. The gameplay of Sifu is amazing. That's really what you're there for when it comes to Sifu. The story that's there is, it's there to hold the game together, and it's not bad by any means, but just the raw gameplay and gameplay loop of the sort of roguelike martial arts. It's like a perfect game for me, honestly. Just again, the constant loop of having to really perfect your way through levels and replay them over and over and over again in your roguelike style. But it's not just a build you have to do, it's like learning the layout of each and every map, and then learning how to take out each enemies in that room, and how just being able to perform the combos. It's pretty much all comes down to execution. It's like a roguelike style of game, but instead of you building your character in a specific way, you have to just learn the layout, and you sort of gain the muscle memory yourself by playing over and over and over again on how to take down these rooms until you just get through it. If you watch the series I did on it, you already know this, but I love Sifu so much. I went through the whole game on a 0 death run, not a no-hit run. That's crazy. I know people have done it, but I'm not a maniac. But on a 0 death run, because I just love the game so much. I put so much time into Sifu. If you haven't played Sifu, man, it's incredible. Now, Sifu is definitely not for everyone. It is a specific type of game where the learning curve at the beginning is like insane. I think the learning curve to learn how to play Sifu is like akin to learning how to play like a fighting game, right? Which is part of why I love it, because I love fighting games. But like, do I think Sifu is harder than like Souls games once you learn what you're doing? No. But it seems like it is when you don't know what you're doing and you're first picking it up. It's super like, you just don't even know what to do with your hands when you're first playing it. But then when you really start learning and you learn the rhythm of like how to do the combos, how to perform certain things, how you're really supposed to go through this game without just button mashing, and it's not a beat 'em up at all, right? And once you get past that barrier to entry and you start, feeling yourself in this game, it's awesome. I can't express how much I love the gameplay loop of Sifu. It is so good. The boss design and how you have to fight each and every one in a different way, they're so uniquely designed, and most of them are super difficult until you really like pay attention and learn their patterns. The art style is amazing. It looks beautiful the whole way through. They really stick to an awesome art style, which has like really good fidelity, but obviously it's still stylized, so everything just looks super clean and slick. The atmosphere is great. The skill tree is awesome. I like how the roguelike aspect of it, where you are unlocking like different moves, but then you kind of have to balance like moves that you perma unlock, which obviously costs a lot more than just unlocking them for your one run. And there's a lot of depth to this game, but it is locked behind a pretty steep learning curve. I feel like it's gonna stray a lot of players, and did stray a lot of players, from really getting into Sifu. Like, pretty much the second level is the hardest level in the game. You can breeze through the first level, right? But that second level, if you get through that, you're gonna love the rest of the game. And if you got Sifu and didn't get through it, I highly encourage you to give it another chance and just really face tank it to learn how to play the game, because the reward of beating these bosses and just flawlessly going through these levels, just whooping ass, it is awesome, man. Especially if you're just a fan of, old school kung fu movies and Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, Ip Man, and all this stuff. It is damn near perfect. And as you would expect it being on this list, I highly recommend Sifu. Everybody knows what these next two are. The real question is what order they're going to be in. My number 2 spot for 2022, for my favorite games of 2022, is Elden Ring. Now, I know some people are going to be upset that it's at number 2, but whatever. This is my list. Now, whether you like Souls games or not, it is impossible to deny the insane feats that Elden Ring has accomplished, both in just gameplay, overall, just like design of the world and level design, and just the vastness of how big the map and how big the scope of this game is. It is insane, and nothing else even comes close to the scale of how big this game is. It is insane. Not just how big the map is, like size-wise, but also how dense it is with content and enemies and new bosses all the way through. There's never a time in Elden Ring where you're really going to be like curious as to what's in some certain little nook and cranny, or what's through this next door, or just what's coming up. There's so much in this game. It's honestly crazy that this game costs $60. It shouldn't. The amount of content in this game is like 3 games worth of content. Either Elden Ring should be more expensive than it is, or every other game, AAA game, should not be $60, which is the real answer, to be honest. But I mean, what can even be said about Elden Ring at this point that hasn't been said? It is just the culmination of everything FromSoft have learned over the years of making all the Dark Souls games, Bloodborne, Sekiro, and just throwing it all together into this masterpiece, but still somehow managing to feel unique, which is arguably the most impressive part of it. Like, this doesn't feel like it's Dark Souls 4. It feels like Elden Ring. And if another Dark Souls game does come out, or another Bloodborne game, or another Sekiro, it shouldn't feel like Elden Ring. It just still feel like those individual games, even though Elden Ring is, the amalgamation of kind of everything they've learned throughout those games put together. It's incredible. I mean, who hasn't played this game at this point? I actually saw a statistic that Elden Ring is both the most played and completed game of the year and the most quit game of the year, which is not surprising, again, because of obviously the difficulty of it being a Souls game and the just vastness of it. I'm going to be honest here. I've put close to 200 hours into Elden Ring across 2 characters. I've not actually beaten it on either of the characters. But, I mean, again, I think I'm still, after 200 hours of the game, I think I'm played enough of it to have a solid opinion on it. So don't come at me with, that's why it's not at your number 1. It's because you haven't beat it yet. No, that's not why. And yes, even though I have this game at number 2, I do think just as a game overall, it definitely takes the most risks and is the most innovative video game pretty much to come out in the last decade, essentially. Like, no other game, even my number 1, which, I mean, everybody knows what it is, but no other game really innovates as much as FromSoft. No other devs really innovate as much as FromSoft and take as many chances as FromSoft. And Elden Ring is no exception. It is such a leap and bound in gaming that the bar for gaming is going to move up a caliber moving forward, specifically because of Elden Ring and what's going to be expected in open world games now. I realize I haven't even talked about like the actual gameplay, but just from the amount of weapons and builds, just you can literally go in and play this game however you want. If there's a build you think, oh, I want to be a wizard, or I want to be a mage, or I want to just brute with a big ass sword, or a boxer with gloves, or Wolverine, or just anything. If you can think of it, you could probably make a build that is that in Elden Ring. And it's incredible. The amount of player expression, I believe, in Elden Ring is probably the most in any game ever, pretty much. Like it was crazy too when Elden Ring came out and like everybody was streaming it, no matter what. You could just go to any other streams and it was like no one was in the same area, no one was using the same weapons, nobody had like the same path. Everyone was doing something different, which again just goes to show how much content there is in the game and how differently you can play it on like a personal level and just play it how you want. It's just amazing, man. Again, everything that can be said about Elden Ring has been said at this point. It's just play it. I know a couple of my friends who might watch this have not played Elden Ring. You need to. If you haven't at this point. It's probably on sale somewhere, or G2A or something. But it's a must-play game, definitely. With Elden Ring being at my number 2, we already all know what my number 1 game of the year is. God of War Ragnarok. God of War Ragnarok, without a doubt, best story and narrative in all of video games, but the only game maybe coming close to it is like Red Dead 2 or something like that. This game just takes everything that was already perfect about the 10 out of 10 God of War 2018 and just makes it even better somehow. It is incredible how good God of War Ragnarok is, from the graphics to the combat to just everything. Everything about this game is amazing. But obviously the real star of the show, as everyone will tell you, is the narrative and story that God of War has to tell. The voice acting, the writing, just everything about all the lore, even from just the items you'll pick up and look at through your inventory and the lore written for everything there, and how this game and story it puts a twist on Norse mythology, but it's still very faithful to it. Obviously, I don't want to talk about spoilers here, so I can't really get into, why the narrative is so good. But it's incredible. Christopher Judge, being the voice of Kratos, puts on pretty much the best voice acting and mocap and just acting in video games that I've ever seen from any game that I've played. And again, this is just my type of game. I'm a sucker for these, I call them at this point PlayStation or Sony style, third-person action-adventure story-driven games. And this is just the magnum opus of that style of game. It is perfect in every way, in my opinion. I feel like I barely talked about God of War, even though, which is wild because it's my number 1. But I don't even know what to say. Like, what can be said that hasn't been said? It's fantastic. Again, I can't even talk about the story, which is the main thing that why it's number 1, is spoilers, which I don't want to do. So, I don't know. Gameplay, graphics, story, everything is a step up from 2018. And 2018 was already like a masterpiece, right? So that gives you an idea of how good Ragnarok is. So yeah, play it. So yeah, just thought I'd share that because obviously this channel is video game related. Again, hope everyone had a good new year. And in terms of the channel, we'll just keep going like we are. I know I haven't been uploading a ton lately. Life happens. Holidays are busy. Obviously, I work an actual job, so I'll keep making content and doing my thing as much as I can, just as I have been doing. So yeah, let me know if you guys agree with this list. Let me know your lists. And honestly, when it comes to Elden Ring and God of War, those two are completely interchangeable, just depending on the type of person you are and your preference in games. Obviously, you're a huge Dark Souls fan and you prefer the Souls games, that'll probably be your number 1. Someone like me who really loves the Sony style of third-person action story-driven games, then God of War is probably your number 1. But yeah, that's it for this one. I'll see you guys in the next one.